Guess they just got bored and went home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? If everyone can please find a seat. The time is 7:48, and the board is now reconvened in open session. We don't have any action on any closed session items tonight, so we'll go straight to our board members' reports. Mrs. Bailey.
Yes. Board members have attended the ISD staff holiday luncheon, Teachers of the Year reception, Spelling Bee at Lakeview Elementary, Superintendent panel by Fort Bend Chamber Education Division, Fort Bend Education Foundation Board meeting, Sugarland Cultural Arts Gala, Student Leadership 102 luncheon, State of the City for Sugarland, Central Fort Bend Chamber Judicial Leadership Session, HGAC Board Meeting, Lexington Creek Elementary's 20th Anniversary Celebration, Baines Middle School 8th Grade Endorsements Meeting, and Elkins Hall of Fame Baseball Banquet.
Thank you, Mrs. Bailey. Do we have any board member special reports tonight? All right, then we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have the items on our consent agenda tonight are revisions to the board policy CV local, which is the small business initiative, several purchasing items, and the minutes from the December meetings. Do we have a
Madam
motion?
President, I move to approve consent agenda items 10A, B, and C as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. Bailey. Do we have discussion?
Just one quick
Mr. Rosenthal.
Mr. Pham, I just have one quick question. Could you remind us again on the teacher laptop issue, when are you scheduled to start purchasing those? And can you just remind us about the dollar amount and especially the relation to the E-rate money?
Yes, sir. The E-rate does not apply to laptops and computers, sir. It is only applied to internet access and provide access to the school to get the internet. As for the amount, I do believe it is $6.1 million, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure. Yes, $6,110,000. And it is due to start immediately when we get approval. We're going to issue the purchase order, and then once we get the delivery, we start the rollout, and to be completed before the school starts next year.
Because when we spoke at our workshop, you had kind of tied it to some E-rate. I remember we had some discussion on E-rates. That's why I was confused.
That is for the firewalls.
Okay.
As well as the Wi-Fi.
Okay, got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay, and that's a significant amount, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Totally, we have about $6 million of E-rate.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have any other discussion on this? I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Pham, for bringing all of this forward. And when we look at it in the aggregate, it's something like $18 million total in investment in technology in our district. And I think that is a huge step forward, and I'm very pleased about it. Thank you for all your hard work in planning it and organizing it, and we look forward to successful implementation. I know that's a big project for several projects for your department, but we'll look forward to it. So
Thank you for your support.
Do we have any more discussion? All right, then please vote. Motion passes. Our next item for consideration is the district-wide feeder pattern and boundary plan.
Madam President, I move to approve action item 11A as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. Tossan. Do we have discussion?
First.
Mr. Rosenthal?
I just had a quick comment here. I had a concern regarding the high school utilization. According to the plan, our greatest growth is going to be in our northern and western regions of the district. 3 years from now, the projected utilizations at Bush, Clements, Kempner, and Ridge Point will be at or above 100%. Yet the long-term plan as presented is simply to rezone after a few years from now, while high school enrollment continues to increase each year. In my opinion, we should consider a capital action plan to increase school capacity within the next 3 years in the form of building additions to some of our existing high schools in the district.
Thank you, Mr. Burdine. Do we have any other comments or questions? Mr. George?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a brief comment on the whole process. It's been a long process. There was a lot of people involved with this. There's a lot of hours. And we talk about it, we heard this many times, but personally involving in this process, it was very painful, and it was, every board member put a lot of hours into it, and administration put a lot of hours into it. And at any time we needed information, you were come back with that information. We all asked for information, additional information. And one thing I wanted to be, I'm very proud to be part of this process. And I know that it's not perfect, but it is a planning process. And I strongly believe at least maybe first time in a long time in Fort Bend ISD's history, this many our citizens, our taxpayers involved with this process. And maybe it's not perfect, but it is a lot of effort, and I wanted to tell our audience, there is a lot of effort behind it, and maybe you are not getting what exactly you want, but still, this is a process I am very proud to be part of, and I hope this is a beginning in Fort Bend ISD's, especially in this process, fair pattern and boundary, a transparent process. Thank you for all the effort from Charles Dupree and his administration, board members, and I really wanted to thank everybody's input into it. And I'm very proud to be part of it, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Any other?
Yeah.
Mrs. Bailey?
I actually have a prepared statement, and I'm actually just going to read it because it's easier. So please bear with me. I want the community, the administration, and my fellow board members to know that I've done my best to understand your views throughout the entire process. My approach from the beginning always has been and remains the same: to advocate for a plan that complies with the decision principles developed by this board for attendance areas in accordance with FC local policy. The process has been difficult and stressful for everybody. Yet, in my opinion, though we have room for improvement, the approach taken this time is much better than approaches taken by the past administration. I compliment Dr. Dupree, his team, and their consultants on how they conducted themselves during the process, with a special recognition to both Beth Martinez and Scott Leopold. Overall, I think this is a good plan. However, perhaps some of you are not aware that we met last Thursday to discuss the plan in detail. Unfortunately, that meeting was not recorded. So therefore, I want to briefly summarize 3 concerns I expressed during that meeting about the proposed plan. First, Lake Olympia neighborhood. I requested that students in Lake Olympia feed Palmer Elementary School, Quail Valley Middle School, and Elkins High School. My reasons were that, in strict accordance with our board policy, such a feeder pattern produces one less split, complements the current 100% feed from Quail Valley Middle School to Elkins and better balances enrollment between Quail Valley Middle School and Lake Olympia. For the record, I am rejecting the false claim made earlier this evening that the reason for my request was to limit enrollment in the GT Academy. Such a claim is baseless and without merit. In fact, when adding the enrolled students in the GT Academy to DeJohns Richter's projected enrollment that includes Lake Olympia students, the 5-year projected utilization under the moderate growth scenario still decreases from 91% to 86%. So students at the GT Academy will not be squeezed out by zoning Lake Olympia to Quail Valley Middle School. Second, Austin Parkway Elementary. Based on recommendations made by DeJohn Richter last April and again this past October, I requested that neighborhoods of Lake of Austin Park, Lakefield, and a small section of Lake Colony feed Austin Parkway Elementary School, First Colony Middle School, and Elkins High Schools. My reasons were that, again, and I always go back to policy, is strict accordance with board policy. Such a feeder pattern creates one less split, complements the current 100% feed from First Colony Middle School to Elkins, and perhaps the most important, better balances enrollment between Elkins and Clements. In addition, it frees up some space for the west side of the district to utilize by moving neighborhoods eastward, as many community members have expressed concern with. The boundary for this recommendation relies on a very prominent man-made feature, a transmission easement that many of us drive underneath every day. It does not rely on fence lines between neighborhood backyards or a wavy line in the middle of a retention pond. Finally, my third concern is the different treatment of neighborhoods. For example, currently a split exists at Goodman Elementary, with a small percentage feeding Baines Middle School and a larger percentage feeding Lake Olympia Middle School. The current recommendation is to feed all of Goodman students to Lake Olympia Middle School, which then feeds 100% of students to Hightower High School. In my opinion, the administration made this recommendation in accordance with board policy, despite community feedback strongly opposing it. However, when the administration recommended feeding 100% of Austin Parkway Elementary to First Colony Middle School in Elkins, residents there strongly opposed eliminating the feeder split at First Colony Middle School. They got what they wanted. Goodman residents did not get what they wanted. As illustrated in this case, we should not treat neighborhoods differently across the district when applying our decision principles for attendance areas in accordance with board policy. Thank you.
Bailey? Mr. Rosenthal?
I would like to follow that and say very well done. I appreciate the clarity on the issues, many of which we faced, even as this plan has been updated over the past few weeks. Thank you for pointing out some of the reasons, because I supported you on that plan for Lake Olympia. It's been a long road, and I'm looking forward to this night being over. It's been stressful. I think what we've come up with the administration, with all the feedback, as Mrs. Bailey said, it's not perfect. It never will be perfect. This district is just too big. And there are too many things that have happened in the past where, as far as building placement and whatnot goes, that you really just can't undo. But I think as a result of this work, I think we'll be much better positioned for the future. And appreciate all the work. This is not a job that leads to better health, I will say that. And again, I thank the community for the feedback. I've tried to be as straightforward with people, even people that I disagreed with. And even among us, there's disagreement. But I think we're all trying to come up with a plan that helps the most students. And I think that's what we will have when this product is finished.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Do we have any additional comments?
Yes,
Mrs. Toussaint.
thank you. First of all, I too wanted to thank the administration, particularly Beth Martinez and Scott Leopold and the others at DeYoung Richter for their hard work, and particularly for being so responsive to requests from the Board of Trustees for information, and for taking a lot of our feedback. I'm not sure if the community realizes how much work and engagement goes on behind the scenes with administration as they're going through this process, and we absolutely spend a lot of time giving our input, asking about different scenarios, and I can't tell you, I've been on the board 9 months, and I'm very impressed with how responsive everyone is to us and to our requests. So I wanted to start there. Also, I've been part of the process before I was even on the board. Many of you know I was part of the facilities planning, and I would like to commend administration as well for the openness, the transparency, the amount of time spent on this. Started way back with the facilities planning, and we've gone in now to the boundaries and feeder patterns, and this is the most community engagement I've ever seen after being here 19 years. As a parent, I appreciate it. I know there are a lot of parents out there that appreciate it, and I would like to thank you guys for that. I think it was very well done. And to the community, I'd like to say thank you for your involvement. We've had, I think it said, someone pointed out earlier, the amount of feedback that we've had, and the majority of it has been very constructive, and I appreciate that, and I know other board members up here appreciate it as well. We have gotten your emails, we have read your emails. Even if we have not responded to them specifically, I assure you that we have taken all of your views into consideration. I know that I have. I feel compelled to say that I was disappointed in some of the response that was received this past week at the Elkins information meeting. I was disappointed at the lack of respect that was given to the administration, Dr. Dupree and Dr. Hill in particular. I think that I know that it is a very small group. The majority of you have been very respectful, and I appreciate that. And I'm hopeful that we will be more respectful as we move forward, because we absolutely want this kind of process to continue, and we want as much input as we can possibly get from the community. And finally, I would like to say that, and I can't speak for all the board members up here, but I can't think of a single person up here that doesn't care deeply about all the students in this district. And I know that there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of things said, and I think everyone up here serves because they care. I think the administration, everyone on the administrative team cares deeply about the students in this district, and that's all students. It's not just a certain segment, it's not just a majority, it's all of them. And I assure you the discussions that have been had with administration as we've gone through this plan, at least the conversations that I've had, have always been student-centered. And I wanted the community to know that regardless of what happens tonight, obviously everyone cannot be, we can't please everyone no matter how hard we try. But we absolutely have gone through this process in order to keep it student-centered and to do the best we possibly can for all the students in this district. That being said, I do have a question, but if there are other comments, I'll reserve it.
You can ask your question.
Yeah.
Okay. So on page 19 of the proposed plan, where it talks about the academic programs. And it's listed, I know it's not up there for everyone to see, but I'll do the best I can to describe it. We have a table that talks about the programs, the Engineering Academy specifically, the Global Studies Academy, and the International Business and Marketing Academy. Is there a way to get that on the
I
screen?
think Mrs. Kaiser is going to try to find it
Okay.
and get it up there.
Might be helpful if everybody could see. So specifically in the table, we have the current campus listed and then the new campus listed. And my only question is around, I mean, we list the new campus here, but we don't say specifically when that move is going to take place, at least not that I saw. So I just wanted to get confirmation that the new campus is going to be implemented in the 2015-2016 school year.
That's correct.
Okay, so what I would like to do is, and I'm not sure that if this is necessary or not, I might like to make a motion to amend the plan just to insert a statement, or maybe put 2015-2016 school year so that it's clear when implementation of those moves will take place. And just to be clear, this has nothing to do with grandfathering. It just talks about the plan.
I don't think we have the
That's the old one.
exact right page up there. That's an old one, old version, so never mind, I guess. So, okay.
So
Yes, I can see a place or two in the second paragraph we could easily insert during the 15-16 school year.
okay, so Rick, should I just make a motion
Yeah.
to amend the plan?
Yes,
Mr.
around that-
Dupree?
Yes.
In the 2015-2016
So
school year.
as I understand your motion, you would be asking for insertion of the words 2015-2016 school year in the first sentence of the second paragraph.
On page
Where
19.
appropriate. I believe it might fit after the word relocated. Is that a fair
That's
statement of
correct.
your motion?
Yes.
And so with that understanding in mind, Madam Board President, you would need a second for the motion to amend.
Second.
All right, we have an amendment to our original motion made by Mrs. Tossan to insert the words "in the 2015-16 school year" after the word "relocated" in the second paragraph of the academic program section. Do we have discussion on that motion? All right,
Yes, I have a question of Dr. Dupree. Was that the intent? Was that your original intent?
Yes, sir.
And this is just adding clarity to that?
Yes.
Thank you.
all right. Do we have additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, please vote. The motion passes, so we've inserted those words into the paragraph. Do we have additional discussion about the plan itself? Mr.
Well, I just have a few comments, and I promise to be brief, no matter how long it takes. I just wanted to add my thanks to the administration, Beth Martinez, and everyone who worked so hard on this. I know it's been a long, long time, and it's come to fruition tonight, so it's a good, solid plan. Thank you for that. And now I would just say, unless you have something, let's vote.
All right, well, we'll see if there's any other comments. Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes. I actually have a couple of amendments here. Mr. Morris, I provided this to you. Did I give you this?
No, sir?
Sorry.
Thank you.
There was some discussion.
We're going to do amendments. Let's do them one at a time. That would be
Yes.
helpful.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There was discussion brought initially by a community member about putting the Woodstream neighborhood back together. We probably don't have maps available, but it was, I don't know how it was designed that way. Doesn't matter. It's just one of those things. I move to amend the plan to unite the Woodstream neighborhood so the entire neighborhood attends Colony Meadows Elementary School beginning in the 2015-16 school year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rosenthal and a second by Mrs. Bailey. Do we have discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
As we talked about, well, when was it? Thursday or the week before? Was it this Thursday? There really isn't any impact to any of the middle schools. There's, a few student change here or there. And as Mr. Leopold agreed, that there really was no impact or to the middle schools, or since both feed into Clements, there's certainly no impact there. So it's really just a matter of putting the neighborhood back together so all the kids in that neighborhood can attend the same elementary school and middle school.
I just want to comment on this because I'm realizing that these two elementary schools feed to two different middle schools. So
Correct.
So that would be a problem. We'd have to change their middle school also.
Yes. But we can amend the amendment.
Well, or you,
Or,
Perhaps I can clarify. Since we're cleaning the feeder patterns, simply by moving those students to Colony Meadows,
It
that
implies-
implies
right.
the middle school, that Colony Meadows
so
feeds.
what about if we said Colony Meadows Elementary feeder structure or pattern?
Well, my view is the recommended
It
wording
speaks for
is-
itself?
meets
Okay,
our needs
that's
for
fine,
this
as long as
purpose.
there's clarity on it, yeah.
okay. Thank you. Do we have additional discussion on this one?
Yeah, Grail, I have a question.
Mr. George?
Can I get a number, how many students we are planning to move, or?
Alex Boyer is here in Scott's Place this evening.
That is 25 elementary students and 18 middle school students.
School students. So it's not going to make any big difference as mentioned.
No.
That's correct.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And what feedback do we have from the community on this suggestion? Do we know?
Yeah, we do have a number. I think it was very positive, like 90% or something like that. But, yeah, I think Beth has that.
Yes, good evening. We received 40 responses from the Woodstream subdivision, with 91% strongly supporting or supporting, 4% indicating they had no opinion or they didn't know, and 5% opposing or strongly opposing.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any other further discussion? Ready to vote on this amendment then to move this other half of the Woodstream neighborhood to the Colony Meadows feeder pattern for the beginning in the 2015-16 school year. Please vote. The motion passes. We're back to our original plan now with two amendments. Do we have further discussion?
I actually have an amendment too.
Bailey?
For the purpose of maintaining a continuous feeder pattern and to relieve anticipated overcrowding at Lake Olympia Middle School, I move to amend the plan to zone the portion of Lake Olympia attending Elkins High School to attend Quail Valley Middle School beginning in the 2015-16 school year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Bailey and a second by Mr. Rosenthal. Do we have discussion?
I think that by moving the Goodman, all of Goodman over to Lake Olympia Middle School, plus the Lake Olympia neighborhood, we're going to put that campus at around 108 and 190%. I think that's high for that middle school, in particularly. So I think it would actually help utilize that school better and have a better feeder there. And also, I think we can ask Beth Martinez, what was the responses from Lake Olympia residents on that?
We received 88 responses, with 77% supporting or strongly supporting, 1% don't know or no opinion, and 22% strongly opposed or opposed.
And how many students are we talking about? 6th through 8th grade that live in Lake Olympia, starting next year?
Let him drive.
Sixth through eighth, 161 sixth through eighth grade students.
6th through 8th? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I already calculated capacity, so we know Quail Valley Middle School has room with the GT Academy too.
All right, do we have additional discussion? Mr. Rosenthal, your light is on.
No, we're good.
Anything down there, Mrs. Tossan?
So, Dr. Dupree, remind us what the concerns were of the administration with this move. I think we discussed them on Thursday, just for the...
Well, they're actually, there's a couple. One, it would put the school itself the students, let me just get this right. The school would be in a planning unit that the students within that own planning unit would not attend the school in their area. It's also, they're able to walk, many of the students, to Lake Olympia. They would not be able to walk to Quail Valley. There's also some demographic differences related to the free and reduced lunch counts at Lake Olympia that would go up by 5 percentage points. And those are areas of concern for us.
Did you, was there a diversity issue? Did it sway
No, it's relatively even.
free and reduced lunch? Okay, thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? I wonder about this, and I thought about this a lot this week, after we talked about it on Thursday, or I guess we talked about it the week before too. And this to me looked like a place where maybe making no change seemed to be the right thing to do, leaving ourselves open for making change in the future as a little more time passed. It seemed like a place where we could maybe wait and not rush ahead, because we could get maybe more information from the community, understand a little bit better the implications. And so I guess that's my hesitancy, that it's not a need that needs, it's not something that needs to be made this year. And I'm hesitant to make a change because then we can't make another change as easily in the future. Can you explain something, Mrs. Bailey, that you said earlier, and that was about, I think you said something that it reduces the number of splits, which is one of the things we're trying to do in this overall, and I was trying to understand what that meant.
Currently, only 19% of Lake Olympia Middle School feeds Elkins. So this would solve that 19% split by feeding them through Quail Valley Middle School. 100% of Quail Valley feeds to Elkins. So it just cleans up that one split. And I also am worried about the capacity at Lake Olympia Middle School. I don't think this is a middle school you want to have over capacity. So I have a lot of concerns about that. And we know there's plenty of capacity at Quail Valley Middle School.
So we'd split them at the elementary level, but then we wouldn't have to split them at the middle school level. So it'd end up being the same number of splits, just they'd split immediately at the elementary level. And I see your concern on the capacity. I just don't know what the future's going to bring, so I'm not sure about it. Do we have any other discussion?
Mr. Burkine, and then me.
I understand both sides of the, both sides of this, but what really stands out to me is it seems like the community itself is overwhelmingly supporting such a change. So to me, that's a consideration of just listening to the community in that sense. So I just wanted to make that point. Otherwise, I can see what Dr. Dupree has said. I can also see the other side and the support from the community on that. So that's it.
Well, I appreciate that we all have different points of view on this, and we could discuss it for quite a long time, but I think the administration has put in a tremendous amount of effort, and I think we should follow the administration's recommendation on this. If in the future it proves to need change, we can deal with it then, but I can't support making a change on it at this point in time.
Do we have additional discussion?
Yes,
Mr. George?
And I also feel the same, and I believe this is a planning process, and changes are going to happen as and when it is inevitable. And for that reason, and also I respect the administration's recommendation, so I will not be able to support this motion.
All right. So we're ready to vote on the amendment now, which is to move the students that are in the Lake Olympia area who would be attending Elkins High School, to move them, their feeder pattern, from Lake Olympia Middle School to Quail Valley Middle School, beginning in the 2015-16 school year. That's the amendment that we're voting on now. If there's no further discussion, please vote. The motion fails, so there is no amendment. We have two amendments currently to the original plan. Do we have further discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal?
I would like to add a final amendment. I move to amend the academic implementation plan, striking the Engineering Academy from Table 9, quote, FBISD academic program transition on page 19. This keeps the Engineering Academy at Elkins High School.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rosenthal and a second by Mrs. Bailey. This is an amendment to our original plan regarding the Engineering Academy at Elkins High School. Do we have discussion? Mr.
Yes.
George?
This item was discussed last Thursday, and I think there is, Mr. Rosenthal mentioned 3 different reasons why if possible, we shouldn't move Engineering Academy. One reason is it's possible in the future Dallas can get overcrowded, and keeping the Engineering Academy at Elkins is not going to have an impact at the moment based on the current feeder pattern and the boundary. And also there is cost associated with moving the Engineering Academy related equipments and things of that nature. And also I'm sure we all heard a lot of community members support that move. So I support that motion.
All right. Thank you, Mr. George. Do we have additional discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Thank you, Mr. George. Appreciate that. Last Thursday, I kind of listed 8 points, and Mr. George already mentioned several of them, but I'll just go down my list. There will be overcrowding at Dulles immediately if we were to move move the engineering academy to Dulles. I believe it goes up to about 107% because of the boundary changes that are called for in the plan, which are good, by the way. 54% of the students that attend that academy are already zoned to Elkins High School, so I move them. There are transportation costs. There is, as Mr. George mentioned, there's also equipment that would need to be either shared or moved or both. 4 would be that it's already a STEM endorsement, so I guess let Elkins keep that. And then one of the other things that Mr. Leopold had mentioned Thursday evening, that in the future there might be more need for capacity at Dulles High School to relieve Kempner if that gets overcrowded again. So this would alleviate that. And again, with regards to that capacity situation at Dulles, you know, we're already asking basically for portables at Dulles if we were to continue with this. So I believe it's best for all to keep that academy, which people, I believe, like at Elkins High School.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Do we have additional comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Toussaint?
Dr. Dupree, we talked some last Thursday as well about this move, and we looked at the numbers and things like Mr. Rosenthal just said. Are there any concerns from administration in making this change?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
And this might be another example of keeping something in place and leaving an option for moving if that should come up in the future. All right, so then are we ready to vote on this amendment? We're amending the plan to allow the engineering academy to stay at Elkins High School for the time being. No further discussion, please vote. All right, very well, so the motion passes. We have a plan now that has 3 amendments to it. Do we have further discussion? Sorry. 1, 2, I have 3. I've got that one. Well, I'm in hot seat here. Do we have further discussion?
I don't have any further discussion, but I wanted to, we had a reception earlier tonight to honor School Board Month, and we had so many thanks from all the community members, but once again, admin was really, man, there was just a lot of work for them. So I wanted to thank admin for the process, the hard work, the long nights, the sacrifices that you made, and you did very well at it. So I wanted to thank you all for that. I really appreciate that. Your hard work makes us look good, so thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you to the board. And once again, this plan's not perfect, it never will be, but it'll be a great start for the future, and good things will happen because of it. And I look forward to those times in the future where we can look back and reflect and use it as an example of working together and doing the right thing. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Burdine. Do we have additional comments?
Oh, and thanks for the community as well.
And thanks to the community, absolutely. We couldn't have done these long hours without them. Sarcasm, that's not good with the microphone. Any further discussion? All right, then we have a plan, and it has the 3 amendments that we've passed, and so we're ready to vote. Please vote. Thank you all very much. Our next agenda, my iPad's gone to sleep, I'm not sure why. The next thing we have to vote on tonight are the attendance boundary changes. And these are for these are for the attendance boundary changes for the opening of elementary school 46, the opening of elementary school 47, which occurs not this coming year but the following year, and the relief of overutilization at Schiff Elementary School, and for the district-wide feeder pattern alignment.
Madam President, I move to approve action item 11B as presented.
Second.
All right, so we've made an amendment to the plan that has that I believe requires an attendance boundary amendment. So how do we go about that? Dr. Dupree, do you have a suggestion?
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, Beth and Alex, y'all might want to help me with this. This would be a change not to the Fort Settlement and First Colony Middle School zones as proposed.
And the Colony Meadows.
And yes, and to the Colony Meadows and Colony Bend. So to make a motion would just be to amend those four, I would suggest, in relationship to the plan that was adopted. Rick?
Does it impact us?
Let me make sure I understand where we are. As I appreciate it, none of the amendments, unless I'm mistaken, that were made to the plan in the prior action item have any bearing on what is being proposed in this recommendation.
Yes, the one of the amendments does, the
Okay.
one that is sending a small portion of one neighborhood from one elementary to another elementary, and that feeder pattern goes to a different middle school as well.
Well, my recommendation would be then that if it is the will of the board that this action item be consistent with action taken on the previous item, that one of the members of the board make a motion to amend this particular action item to make it reflective of the same amendment that was made to the prior action item.
Okay, so if I can jump in. So perhaps someone from DeJong Richter can tell us the planning unit number, and then we can name that. We can accept that we can amend our motion referencing the planning unit number, which would be moved into different feeder patterns.
That
Thank
is
you.
Planning Unit 139, and it is being changed from Colony Bend to Colony Meadows Elementary, and then middle school from First Colony to Fort Settlement.
So I'd entertain a motion to make this amendment.
I'm sorry, what planning unit was that?
139.
I have a question before.
That's fine.
How does that impact this?
Well, we're approving attendance bound, if I might speak to that, we're approving attendance boundary changes for next year.
Okay.
And so we need to do that all at one time, or we need to include, this needs to also be changed, is the point. So we have all these
So
maps,
I got it. The maps
the maps.
that aren't in this.
We don't have a fresh set of maps tonight. But
I'm with you.
so I would entertain a motion to move Planning Unit 139 to the Colony Meadows Elementary Fort Settlement Middle School Clements High School feeder pattern.
I will make that motion, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Do I have a second?
Second.
And then Clements High School.
Are we there, Mr. Morris?
I have the form of a motion. You may have already taken care of it.
We did.
They've done it.
I don't even have a law degree.
As I appreciate the motion, so I'll restate it just so that we're, all board members are clear. It is to amend the boundary plan to move Planning Unit 139 to the Colony Meadows attendance zone so that it feeds into Colony Meadows Elementary, Fort Settlement Middle School, and Clements High School.
That is correct. All right, do we have discussion on this item?
You don't have a law degree, but you stayed at Holiday Inn last night, right?
Holiday Inn Express, you got it. No, I just stayed at home. Do we have discussion on this amendment? We're voting on the amendment. The amendment is moving Planning Unit 139 to the Colony Meadows Elementary feeder pattern. Hearing no discussion, we're ready to vote. Please vote. The motion passes. So now we're ready to vote on the full attendance boundary changes, including this amendment to the Colony Meadows feeder pattern. Do we have more discussion on these attendance boundary changes? Hearing none, please vote. Very well, the motion passes. I'm out of, I lost my paper. So now we're ready to move on to the next agenda item, which is 11C. It's the resolution concerning the implementation of the school boundary changes.
Madam President, I move to approve action item 11C as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. Bailey. And I'd like to just mention to the audience that the resolution that was in the board book online has been updated today, and so we have the yellow line version here in front of us, which further clarifies the. Yeah, we can read it. Would you like to read it? You've done such a good job.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Let's read it. Mrs. Bailey would like to read it. Good.
Okay.
Well, I've asked her to read it.
Let me just read the important stuff down at the bottom, maybe?
Read
Let me
the
just do the
stuff that
bottom.
why these people are here.
Okay.
The whole thing.
Read the whole thing.
All
so
right.
it's not out of context.
All right. All right, a resolution of the Fort Bend Independent School District concerning the implementation of school boundaries and relocation of academic programs. Whereas the board commissioned demographic studies that confirm the district's continued growth and need to provide school facilities that address changing enrollment patterns. Whereas the board has adopted a district-wide feeder pattern and attendance boundary plan, which plan may be amended from time to time to address the evolving needs of the district. Such plan as adopted by the board is referred to herein as the feeder pattern plan. Whereas the feeder pattern plan calls for the alignment of district feeder patterns and changes to district attendance boundaries, whereas the board has approved school boundaries that are designed to provide for the efficient and effective use of district facilities by balancing enrollment among district schools, efficiently utilizing existing building capacity, and providing space for future enrollment growth. Whereas the board has determined it to be in the best interest of the district to effect orderly implementation of the feeder pattern plan, and whereas the district may determine it to be in its best interest to relocate an academic programs in connection with the boundary or feeder alignment change. Now, this is the good part. Therefore, be it resolved and ordered by the Board of Trustees of the Fort Bend Independent School District that the following provisions shall apply to students who are affected by an attendance boundary zone change approved by the Board of Trustees on January 26, 2015, and/or the relocation of an academic program. Number 1, students entering grades 10, 11, or 12 shall remain at their current campus and shall be eligible for district-provided transportation until graduating. 2, students entering grade 8 may remain at their current campus but shall not be eligible for district-provided transportation. 3, students entering grade 5 may remain at their current campus provided projected capacity for the school does not exceed 120%, but shall not be eligible for district-provided transportation. Number 4, students entering grade 9 who are siblings to a student remaining at his or her current campus, as required by paragraph 1 above, may attend the same campus as their sibling until graduating, but shall be eligible for district-provided transportation only until their older sibling no longer attends the school. This provision does not apply if the older sibling is attending his or her current campus pursuant to an intra-district transfer, inter-district transfer, or as a participant in an academy program. Students attending a middle or high school campus pursuant to an approved intra-district transfer shall remain at their current campus until completion of the highest grade offered at that campus. And finally, 6, any student affected by an attendance zone boundary change or the relocation of an academic program may apply for an intra-district transfer in accordance with district policy and applicable administrative transfer procedures.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bailey. Do we have discussion about this?
I just have one question.
Mr. Rosenthal?
I know we discussed this late Thursday night, and this was a good addition, by the way. I think Ms. Tassan brought this to us, I believe. The allowing 8th graders and 5th graders to remain. But in number 3, we have the statement where it says does not exceed 120% for 5th grade. Is there a reason we didn't have it for 8th grade? Is there not a situation in sight that's...
No, sir. When we looked at the data, we
Okay.
noted it was a very small
Okay,
number of
that's
students.
fine. That's what I thought, but I just want to clarify.
Additional questions or comments? Mrs. Tassan?
Yeah, so I would just say that I do support this, and we did discuss it on Thursday night, and these were some of the changes that I had brought up during that meeting, and I'm very happy to see them in the resolution, and I do think it's best for kids, and so I do support it.
Thank you, Mr. George.
Yeah, I really appreciate putting together something like this, and I believe it is one more example of Fort Bend ISD administration and Board of Trustees are listening to our citizens, our taxpayers, our parents, and I support this motion wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. I have a question. When we, if we were to approve this resolution, it goes along with the plan, but how long is this resolution in effect? Is it in effect the whole time that we're using this plan? Or is it just for this coming year?
As I appreciate it, this resolution really only governs this current year or this current effort at zone changes or boundary changes and feeder realignment. Your plan is a living, breathing document that can be periodically amended. So it is possible that in the future you may need to revisit this resolution if situations change within the district, but that would be within the prerogative of the board to do so.
Okay, thank you. And in our meeting on Thursday night, we talked about working maybe in the next, I don't know, period of time on FDB local, which was originally drafted as a grandfathering policy, but during our discussion on Thursday, we realized that there were maybe a lot of things we needed to take into consideration before we formalized that into a policy. So that's fine. I just want to make sure that this wasn't going to, if a different situation came about next year at this time, that we wouldn't be working from this. We would either need a new resolution or we'd need to have policy in place that govern these types of things. Is that your understanding, Mr.
That's
Morris?
correct.
And I'd like to just clarify that we've specifically added the date of January 26, because tonight's action on boundaries does include the vast majority to be effective this fall, but elementary 47 is included, and it's not effective until the following fall. That's why we wanted to reference it to tonight's board action specifically, not 15-16 school year.
Okay, and were there, I think there might be some middle school things that were also for the following year.
No, ma'am, that would be actually out in the 2017 school year.
Okay, all right.
So like, as you mentioned, the intent is that we would get the policy approved. That would be more timeless.
All right, so we have a deadline for the policy then, a year from now, or less, preferably less. All right, very well. Then do we have any further discussion on this resolution? All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. Bailey, and we're ready to vote, so please vote. The motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, our next item of business is our planning for the future, our future board meetings. Dr. Dupree, can you give us a review of what we have to look forward to?
Yes, ma'am. What we have to look forward to, we hope, is some shorter board meetings in February and March and April.
Hey, this wasn't,
Hallelujah.
it's only 10 to 9.
We like that.
But really, in February, we have a workshop, and we're going to be doing the academic performance report on February 9th. And I'll feature a couple of things that are coming up. The board is going to consider legislative priorities.
Someone close the door to the outside because we're having trouble hearing, and I'm sitting right next to him.
The board will consider legislative priorities in February, along with getting to work on the budget, including a budget briefing, and we're going to ask the board to approve a short list of new staff positions for the 15-16 school year in February, but we'll do that through the workshop and meeting process. We'll do a bond program update. We're also going to seek board approval of the bond program manager in February, along with a list of other bond projects and technology-related projects. And then really, you can just kind of see as we go through the spring, it's a lot of budget, and then just some other items related to planning. And let's see, any other big items? Nope, those are really the big things. Construction is consuming a lot of time, and budgeting.
All right, I have a question. Does anybody else have a question? I have a question about the top of the list there in upcoming items. Keep scrolling down, Mrs. Kaiser, right there, stop. 2015-16 Superintendent Evaluation Instrument. One time we talked about having that so we could, as we were going through the budgeting process, we would have that available. As we were doing budgeting, we knew what our goals were. Do we have a timeline for when we would work on that, or?
That would be up to the board. We'll be responsive to your timeframe on that.
Okay, well, I don't want to rush into anything necessarily, but I just want to, that would probably be of outstanding items, maybe a top, one of the higher priorities.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, we can work out a schedule. All right, is there any further business then?
I have a comment,
Mr. Rosenthal.
a wrap-up comment, maybe.
Wrap-up comment.
I just want to say that I am extremely proud to be a part of this body. And I know there are several people in this room, Mrs. Bailey, Mrs. Marino, who were at zoning and planning meetings in the past. What a difference. And I'm really, really proud of this board. And again, obviously we didn't agree on everything, but I respect everyone's decision. And I think, we're just off to a great start. And I just again like to thank everyone for their input. I'm very happy that this is over. And that's it.
So you can use your spare time for your fitness program, Mr. Rosenthal.
That's exactly right. Got to get back to losing weight and getting my blood pressure down below 215.
Awesome. Would you like to offer a motion to adjourn?
I would. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Yay, all right.